So why was TruSpace invented in the first place? Imagine you have a situation where you have organization A, you have users, and they want to deal with digital documents in this organization. Well, typically you either have some Teams workspace, open source, Nextcloud server, SharePoint, you name it. So there could be different solutions, and it doesn't even matter so much if they're on premise or if it's a cloud-based solution. It's a solution that is basically owned by the organization. Now, a more interesting situation arises when you want to collaborate with other organizations. So here depicted as organization A, B, and C. There are several options that you have. The first option is, of course, you send around emails with document attachments, and everyone tries to manually save the documents in their own database or document management system. This typically is a situation that creates a lot of frustration, being at file limits of attachments, but the documents are distributed nicely, so no one is relying on each other. So email is a very distributed system. The other option that you have is that one of these organizations becomes the platform provider for everyone to store their documents. So basically you can log into that platform, you can send or store the documents in the server of the organization. Of course, here you get a problem with the digital sovereignty, so you get a dependency on that organization, that their platform is running, that no documents are manipulated or hacked by external parties, and if the organization decides that the service is not available anymore, then you basically lose your documents. Or you manually try to synchronize documents to your system as well, which is of course also cumbersome. That's where TruSpace comes into place. So here the idea is that every organization owns their own golden copy of the document, and there's a mechanism in TruSpace called the interplanetary file system that automatically synchronizes all the documents and all the collaboration content about the document. So who did what, maybe chats around the document, different versions, AI results when the document was analyzed, that this is shared instantly and automatically across all the various servers. So if any of these organizations leaves the network, the same status of all documents still remains at the other organizations. So this is the idea of TruSpace, and let me show how it works. So how does TruSpace work? As you can see here on the screen, I logged in already. So I see the dashboard with the various options, so what I can do. On the left side, I see the activities that I start with. The main one is I can add additional document workspaces where I can store and retrieve documents. If I create a new workspace, let's call it a test podcast. If I create a new workspace, I can tag it as private. So this means that only the users that I add to the workspace can see the documents. Or I set it to public, which means that all connected servers in this private network can connect to the workspace, and it will synchronize it automatically. As you can see, I created already a couple of workspaces. So if I jump into one of them, let's say that was tested at the Raspberry Pi where TruSpace is running. I see there's one document added at the moment. I can also search by the document name if there are several documents. And if I jump into this document, I can see this is a German document, the size, that's encrypted. There's some tags already added to it, which were created automatically by an AI. I can preview the document. So you see I had a small publication about quantum computing, and I have several versions of the document, so I can also update new versions. There's also the feature to actually chat about the document, so I can add let's say an approval message for a draft if the document is okay. And this is shared across all TruSpace instances. On the details screen, you also see an interesting element. We call it perspectives. So these are auto-generated AI views on this document with predefined prompts. So you don't need to enter prompts and wait for a reply, but as soon as you upload documents, a couple of configured prompts are executed automatically. So for example, there's one for an executive summary. I also had one for inconsistencies in the document, or one if there's financial indicators, what the financial indicators are. These can be created and they can also be enriched by my own perspective. So I can say, okay, this is a very nice document, and I can say, okay, it requires more tech information, let's say. I can also create these manual perspectives from the AI-generated perspectives. So now I see that I have the auto-generated AI perspectives, and I have a perspective that was added by me in that case. I can also create my custom prompts. So in case I don't like the predefined prompts here, I can also create other prompts that are executed, as I said, automatically when the document is uploaded. And these perspectives are also documents itself, so they are also shared with other installations of TruSpace that are connected to this node. And let me show how this connection works. So here I see that this is a TruSpace server, and I created a second server on my local PC now for the moment. We can see it here in white. And all the documents that I add here will automatically be synchronized to the other one. So let's try it out. So we have a workspace, a public workspace here, and if I upload a new document, so let's say I can grab a document here, a moment, and I upload the document. Then as soon as it's uploaded to the IPFS TruSpace network, I think it's a bit of a larger document. Now the document is uploaded, and I can also preview, if I like, I can preview this document. My own server here is a bit slower, so it has to download the preview. And at the same time, I can check already if it was synchronized across the network. It should typically just take a couple of seconds. So if I go to the same workspace on the other server, I see that the document was uploaded today, and I can preview it, and I see that the document was also synchronized to the other server. Okay, that was a quick preview on TruSpace. Thanks for listening. Maybe a quick view on the architecture of the various components. So once you start up TruSpace in a Docker container, it just spins up a couple of containers, so it's more or less one-click startup. But if you want to dive into the architecture, how it actually works, you can see it in this image. So if we go from the top, we have a user interface, the one I've just shown you, implemented in Next.js, so where you can manage workspaces, documents, you can collaboratively work on these documents, and also this triggers the retrieval of information using artificial intelligence. So then there's an API layer also written in Express and Node.js, which orchestrates all these activities. And this connects to more or less two different components. On the left side, you see there's an Open Web UI installation or Open Web UI container running any AI LLM engine that you find on a Llama database. So you don't need to connect to a remote service. So you can connect to a remote service, but you don't need to connect to a remote AI service. But you can just download an LLM and run it in a TruSpace. Actually, if you specify an LLM that is not there, being a Gamma or GPT or Mistral or so, and the LLM is not available, then TruSpace will automatically download it from the Ollama database and store it in a Docker volume. So the API communicates with this Open Web UI. There's also a vector database. If the documents are getting larger, then they're also stored in a vector database to be used by AI. On the other hand, you see this decentralization or synchronization components, which is run by IPFS. So IPFS is a system that synchronizes files across the peer-to-peer network, and it also stores them in a way that they cannot be changed by one party only. So it's content-based addressing using hashes. As soon as someone would change a document, it creates a new hash and therefore actually a new document. And you need IPFS Cluster in order to synchronize the pinning. So you can specify a policy that these files, for example, are stored only on one server or half of the servers or all servers. So the default settings is that all files uploaded to TruSpace are all synchronized within the private network that shares a particular secret key. So within the secret key, all the files are shared, but they're not shared with the public IPFS network unless you want to have it shared there. So the default settings is a private network with a private key, so it would not go outside of this private closed network. And this is shown here. So the same installation is running on each of the TruSpace servers, and that's how they actually connect. You also find this information on GitHub. With many more ports and guides, how to deal with it, how to monitor the installation, how to install it, and so on and so on. Thank you.